Warner Brothers' Minecraft movie versus Disney's Snow White, which in theory should be quite a battle, but it's not even a fair fight, and the cops had to escort the rowdy teenagers out. The Minecraft movie is doing something magical. It's creating a live audience reaction.
Have you ever wondered how a beloved, feel-good Disney classic turned into one of Hollywood's most polarizing sagas in recent memory? It all started with the highly anticipated live-action Snow White remake, starring rising talent Rachel Zegler. Fans were expecting a magical revival of one of Disney's oldest fairy tales. But instead, what they got was a whirlwind of rumors, near-empty theaters, and a jaw-dropping controversy that left everyone asking, did Rachel Zegler really break down after being called out by Jack Black? Whether this supposed meltdown happened behind closed doors or was blown out of proportion by the rumor mill, one thing was undeniable. The Snow White project had become a cultural flashpoint, and this is the story of how a cherished fairy tale ended up at the center of one of the year's biggest controversies. The Snow White remake became a lightning rod for criticism, a project where the message was delivered not with subtlety, but with the grace of a jackhammer. Think messaging shoved up your ass, screamed in the most grating way possible. When Disney first announced the remake, the buzz was real. Rachel Zegler, fresh from her breakout role in West Side Story, seemed destined to become Disney's next princess icon. The film promised a modern twist, updated dialogue, a stronger, more independent Snow White, and a reimagining of the Seven Dwarfs. On paper, it looked like a surefire hit. People love Snow White, or at least they used to. But then, things got weird. Rachel Zegler started posting videos of herself sitting alone in empty theaters for her own movie. Like literally the only person there. Meanwhile, fans were starting to realize that this wasn't the Snow White they remembered. The original 1937 animated film practically built the Disney empire. It was the gold standard of fairy tales. But that nostalgic bubble began to burst. Leaks started trickling out, changes to the dwarfs, massive rewrites of Snow White's personality, and fans weren't impressed. They began to worry. Was this once wholesome princess now being turned into a preachy, cynical girl boss? Or was Disney actually managing to blend timeless charm with a modern flair?
The original 1937 animated movie practically built the Disney empire. But that fairy tale bubble began to burst when audiences learned just how significant these modern twists would be. As leaks surfaced, some about the dwarfs, others about extensive changes to Snow White's character, fans voiced concerns that the remake was drifting too far from its source material. Would the famously wholesome princess now be an in-your-face girl boss with a cynical edge? Or was Disney carefully blending old-fashioned charm with fresh perspectives? Conflicting rumors went viral, and the internet had a field day dissecting any leaked set photos or script tidbits. Even more telling were the whispers about shaky test screenings. Early viewers complained of bizarre pacing, odd tonal shifts, and a sense that the film was trying to educate them instead of entertaining them. Disney's top brass insisted that reshoots would iron out the kinks, but the damage was already done.
You ever wonder what happens when you mix hot lava and chicken?
By the time official marketing began, Snow White had become a lightning rod for debate. Some hailed it as a modern feminist statement. Others blasted it as a misguided attempt to force a message into a children's fairy tale. Yet the real storm was only beginning to form. But the first true sign of danger, as one commentator put it, came when Zegler herself doubled down on defending these changes. Instead of quelling the backlash, she appeared to fuel it with social media posts that many took as dismissive of fan concerns. Suddenly, the star Disney had banked on to charm audiences was making more headlines for controversy than for her acting. And that's how the magic started to fade. While Snow White wrestled with negative press, a rival project unexpectedly seized the spotlight. A Minecraft live-action film produced by Warner Brothers. On paper, a blocky video game adaptation shouldn't outshine Disney's crown jewel. Yet the numbers told a different story. Minecraft soared past $300 million worldwide in its opening weekend alone, while Snow White barely scraped together a fraction of that. The contrast was brutal.
It is non-political. The Minecraft movie does not try to beat you and box you about the ears with the message.
Social media brimmed with memes of Rachel Zegler posing in a deserted theater. In one viral post, she sits alone as if waiting for an audience that never arrived. Some joked it was a metaphor for Snow White's box office. Others took it as proof of how disconnected the project had become from public goodwill. Meanwhile, the Minecraft movie sparked joy. Videos of rowdy teens cheering their favorite scenes in crowded screenings showed up all over TikTok. By any measure, Disney's live-action experiment was losing the war of public perception. Fans began asking, how did a big-budget Disney remake fail so badly against a video game adaptation? A range of theories emerged. One camp blamed marketing. Maybe Disney didn't hype the film enough. Another camp pinned it on audience.
As the dust settled from Disney's wave of remakes, a certain fatigue had begun to set in. But with Snow White, critics argued the problem ran deeper than just audience burnout. This wasn't simply a case of being overshadowed. Some believed the remake was actively sabotaging its own appeal. One critic put it bluntly. The script apparently strayed from everything that made the original beloved. And then there was Rachel Zegler. Her public persona, once promising, began to fuel even more skepticism. As doubts about the creative direction mounted, fingers were pointed everywhere. At Disney's executive meddling, at the writing team, and most dramatically, at a rumored behind-the-scenes confrontation. Snow White's modern makeover featured what many saw as an aggressively girl-boss version of the character. And to critics, Zegler's off-screen behavior didn't help. She came across to some as self-absorbed, even dismissive of fans, with one observer calling it clinical narcissism. Then came Jack Black. Known for his charisma and no-filter honesty, Black unexpectedly entered the narrative. Rumors online alleged he had confronted Zegler over how she was handling fan criticism. The story goes that Black, who may have had a small cameo or some creative involvement in the film, pulled her aside for a candid conversation, but it wasn't private enough to stay under wraps. Reportedly, Black questioned whether dismissing concerned fans as trolls or ignorant was really the best approach. Shouldn't a leading lady, he allegedly asked, show a little humility, even when the feedback stings? Some accounts describe Black as trying to mediate, encouraging professionalism. Others paint a more heated picture. Jack Black passionately warning Zegler that she was sinking the film's chances by alienating potential viewers. However it played out, the aftermath was reportedly the same. Rachel Zegler left the exchange in tears. Rumors of a full-on breakdown spread like wildfire, and Disney, they said nothing. No confirmations, no denials, just silence. And that silence only added fuel to the fire. If the story was false, why not squash it? If it was true, what else was going on behind the scenes? Soon, YouTube exposés, Twitter threads, and Reddit rabbit holes were overflowing with speculation. The drama between Zegler and Black had become more gripping than the film itself. In fact, the controversy was the movie, or at least more, memorable than anything actually on screen. As the box office numbers nosedived, fans clung to every shred of gossip. Did Rachel Zegler really cry on set? Did she go on rants online? Did Disney higher-ups step in to scold her for making things worse? No one had all the answers, but one thing was certain. Snow White had become less of a fairy tale and more of a cautionary tale.
And in social media posts, did Disney executives chastise her for fueling negative press? Multiple stories took hold. The internet fixated on so-called insider leaks, describing a meltdown big enough that production schedules got disrupted. In one particularly wild account, security was almost called in to keep tensions from escalating further. Though no official statement addressed these rumors, Zegler's online interactions seemed to shift. People noted she'd become more defensive. Some posts subtly blamed critics for bad faith reviews. Others expressed frustration about the negativity overshadowing what she described as a modern retelling of a timeless classic. Every tweet or Instagram comment sparked a new round of speculation. And of course, the more she posted, the more antagonists pounced.
So the film received a low score on Rotten Tomatoes, but 87% fan approval. The rankings were very similar to Snow White, which received a 40% critic score, 73% audience ranking. Yeah, right.
Meanwhile, supporters of Zegler argued that she was being unfairly vilified. They pointed out the disproportionate heat she faced compared to male co-stars or directors. They noted that a female lead, especially one with strong opinions, might receive extra backlash for stepping outside the sweet, pliable Disney princess mold. Perhaps the meltdown rumor was just another angle for critics to exploit. After all, who doesn't love a juicy celebrity breakdown story? Whether it's true or not, beneath all this chatter loomed a simple fact. Test screenings for Snow White had gone poorly from the start. Audiences reportedly complained about pacing that felt both rushed and oddly sluggish. Scenes jumped from whimsical singing to heavy-handed messaging without a smooth transition. Some watchers said they couldn't figure out what emotion the film wanted them to feel: delight, empowerment, or moral obligation.
You know what's interesting about all this is that the only person waiting in line to see Snow White was Rachel Zegler.
Disney tried to fix these issues with reshoots and last-minute editing, but word from insiders claimed the end product felt stitched together. Entire scenes were cut or rearranged so abruptly that side characters lost their arcs, jokes lost their punch, and emotional moments fell flat. Even the comedic talents rumored to be involved, like Jack Black, couldn't salvage a film weighted down by structural flaws. It's not that it's woke, one test viewer posted anonymously. It's that it's disjointed, unfocused, and kinda joyless. Had Rachel Zegler personally contributed to the script or story changes? Likely not. But as the face of the remake, she became the target of widespread frustration. So when
news of Rachel Zegler's rumored meltdown hit the internet, fans who were already skeptical of Snow White's new direction didn't need much convincing. It made sense. She was under immense pressure. And in a twist of irony, that personal tension mirrored the fractured tone of the film itself. On screen and off, no one seemed aligned. The cast, the crew, the vision, all seemed at odds. And if there's one thing social media loves more than a fairy tale comeback, it's a good old-fashioned Hollywood train wreck. The alleged standoff between Jack Black and Rachel Zegler had it all. Big-name stars, a troubled Disney reboot, and juicy behind-the-scenes drama. It was everything the internet lives for. Speculation exploded. Did they argue during a press junket? Was it a heated phone call overheard by someone on set? Could Zegler's supposed tears have been misunderstood, a moment blown out of proportion? While Snow White stumbled, another giant release, the Minecraft movie, emerged as an unlikely contender, launching a narrative battle between two cinematic worlds. Reddit sleuths combed interview footage, analyzing every micro-expression. X, formerly Twitter, lit up with confirmed accounts from alleged insiders. YouTube commentators dissected every rumor, frame by frame, in monetized detail. Mainstream outlets, however, mostly watched in silence. Without official statements from Disney, even seasoned journalists couldn't confirm what actually went down. But as always, the absence of clarity only fed the frenzy. Soon, the conversation evolved. Beyond the drama, fans were asking deeper questions. Had Disney strayed too far from what made its classics timeless? Was the studio prioritizing messaging over magic? For many, the meltdown rumor, real or not, became a symbol of creative turmoil spilling into public view. Zegler's alleged emotional outburst wasn't just personal, it became emblematic of a larger identity crisis at Disney. And then, there was that quote, "Everything I do, people will wait in line to see." Whether taken out of context or not, it only inflamed criticism. Some began calling Snow White a canary in the coal mine. Disney had spent the last decade reviving its legacy titles, The Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, all massive hits. But with each new release, the shine seemed to fade. Audiences were starting to notice. The heart was missing. Then came Snow White, overshadowed by Minecraft of all things. Besieged by headlines, scorned by longtime fans, and failing to capture the magic that built the Disney empire in the first place. To make matters worse, in just one weekend, Minecraft out-earned Snow White's entire global take after 3 weeks. Zegler's rumored breakdown at that point wasn't just a scandal. It felt like a symptom of a corporation forcing a new narrative without considering how deeply fans connected to the old one. Because Snow White was never just another Disney movie. It was the cornerstone of the brand. Altering it so drastically may have done more than alienate audiences. It may have unraveled something sacred. The meltdown, whether true or exaggerated, came to represent the chaos surrounding the project. Even Disney CEO Bob Iger tried to course correct, reiterating the company's commitment to modernizing beloved classics. But this time, the usual warm reception had cooled to suspicion. Many fans felt the magic had been replaced by a clumsy message, or worse, a disjointed mess of themes and tone. In the end, the meltdown rumor became more than a tabloid headline. It became a metaphor for missteps, miscommunication, and the mounting disconnect between Disney and the audience it once knew by heart. And as for the box office, well, the Minecraft movie earned $60 million in a single weekend. Snow White, after 3, still hadn't caught up.
How bad must things really be?
Box office numbers. The Minecraft movie made $60 million on Saturday. Snow White made 2.
With all these accounts swirling, Zegler alone in an empty theater, that alleged confrontation with Jack Black, the humiliating box office takedown by Minecraft, one huge question remains. What actually caused this meltdown? And was it real in the first place? Some steadfast supporters label the entire story a smear campaign invented by trolls. Others believe it's entirely plausible that tensions hit a breaking point. Regardless, the fiasco has overshadowed any sincere assessment of Snow White as a film. Critics say the real meltdown is Disney's refusal to listen to its audience. They see a pattern of reboots that disregard what fans cherish, culminating in a product nobody truly wants. Zegler defenders counter that female stars often face undue vitriol. Meanwhile, the rest of us watch from the sidelines, wondering how a time-tested fairy tale wound up locked in a PR disaster of epic proportions.
The Disney Snow White, faithfully adapted, would have made $1 billion. Everyone knows this.
So, where does that leave the live-action Snow White? If its final box office numbers continue slipping, Disney may face a reckoning on whether to keep rolling out reimagined classics with minimal regard for fan sentiment. If, by some surprise twist, the film rebounds, it might prove once again that controversies sometimes fuel curiosity. Yet, the meltdown rumor, factual or not, has already become part of the movie's lore, adding an aura of infamy to a project that once seemed destined for easy success.
It is just silly fun for kids, which is what a kids' movie should be.
Sometimes, fairy tales don't end with happily ever after. Rachel Zegler's alleged breakdown, Jack Black's supposed confrontation and the box office drubbing by a Minecraft adaptation have turned Snow White into a cautionary tale about pushing beloved stories too far from their roots. Whether Disney learns from this fiasco or doubles down on its current path remains anyone's guess. But if there's one lesson here, it's that audiences can sense when the magic is missing, and no slick PR spin or star-studded cast can compensate for that loss of enchantment. The meltdown rumor might fade with time, but the questions it raises about creative integrity, audience respect, and the risks of overhauling a cherished classic won't disappear so easily. And if even Snow White isn't safe from controversy, what fairy tale is?